are on the Big Joel community call. Those of you that haven't been on with us before or haven't interacted, we do have a chat. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Clayton is actually very good if he's referencing something on putting links in the chat, or Josh or Clayton will put them in there as well. Just remember, if it's a subject you're interested in, take it out of the chat, because when the call's over, it's gone. You won't be able to get it. So everybody, interesting times. I'm excited to have Clayton on because there's some questions I want to ask him, and I want to see what his opinion is on certain things. But I want to give Clayton a call. I want to give him the floor. He's the CEO and chairman of HousingWire, which is picking up market share and growing every day, which is really cool. I like seeing it. I knew Clayton when he was like really little, right, Clayton? No, just kidding. He was already big and on the way, and now they're getting bigger as they made some big purchases. So those of you that aren't familiar with HousingWire, it's a great sort of capture all for real estate and mortgage. And Clayton, we really don't have title people on here, but and we don't have agents on here as well, but there's just great info there. It's something that you should be checking a lot. By the way, this is the commercial for HousingWire. I'm just telling you what I do, because it really allows you to be right on top of things, because Clayton's got crack reporters on things as they're happening live time to be able to share with your partners, or maybe even send the link to your partners. So without further ado, Clayton Collins, I think he's coming in hot from Dallas, Texas. And Clayton, I would love you to just take the floor. What's the most topical thing that's happening right now, from just straight market stuff to CFPB to mergers, anything? You could just go any way you want, and I want to ask you some questions when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joel. Thanks for the commercial. I wasn't coming on here to do a commercial, but since you got the ball rolling, I'll drop a link for our newsletters in the chat.
Go ahead. It's all good.
To stay in touch on the info that our reporters are covering. And we have a newsletter, Lending Life, that's specifically written and curated for the loan origination community. So hopefully that's something of value. But yeah, it's been a few months since I've been on, Joel. It's been busy over here. I'd say what's been keeping me most busy is my wife and I welcomed our third kid on June 17th. So that
nice. Congratulations.
That's been fun. And less than 2 weeks later, we closed a little tuck-in acquisition of a brand called Reverse Mortgage Daily, covering the reverse mortgage market, which will join the HW Media kind of family of housing related media companies or brands. So we've been busy on getting that brand integrated as well. And also getting ready for a busy second half of the year. I think what's really been most top of mind across our newsroom and content teams the last few months have really been trends in the overall housing market, and was so much frenzy and movement in the purchase world, and movement and rates. There's been a lot to talk about in the overall housing market. And I think if you, for the folks that were on these calls, and I was joining weekly back in the heat of COVID, when Joel and I were just online all the time doing Zoom calls, I like to make a habit of talking about some of the coverage from our newsroom, but also like to make a habit of debunking some of the stuff that CNBC talks about. So that's, you mind if I start there today?
No, I think everyone on this call would love that, because we all cringe at the same time when I'm not even going to name names, but when certain people say things that most loan officers think are dumb or not correct. So no, I think everyone would get a kick out of that. That'd be great.
So last week, we published an article that the title was "Housing Inventory Slowly Coming Back as Frenzy Fades." And I felt like that was a pretty fair headline. We went through some frenzied period in the existing and new home purchase market. And we actually are seeing the days on market and months supply tick up a little bit. And most housing professionals see that as a positive. We actually have some inventory to sell to forming households and potential homeowners, and then, put some financing on. Relatively good thing. But what's great is the home price growth is holding its ground. We might see some home price appreciation slow, but home prices are holding their ground. And I felt like we did a pretty fair article of that. Today, CNBC goes a level further off some data about new single family home sales, which were lower in June than anyone anticipated. But CNBC goes with the headline of "Housing boom is over as new home sales fall to a pandemic low." And I really like, this isn't really worth a ton of our time, but the reason I bring it up is because this article is going viral right now. It's the #1 trending article on CNBC.com. I've seen it in all my social feeds from people sharing. And the fact that the consumers and homeowners and inexperienced real estate professionals are out there saying that the boom is over, it's just so reminiscent of things we saw a decade ago. And I just want to kind of run through some of the numbers and set the record straight, and then talk about some of the anecdotal things that I'm confident that you all are seeing. So the article, if you actually read it, which a lot of people don't, just see the headline, does go into the fact that we are still seeing unquestionably strong demand from buyers. But the headline writer chose to kind of focus in on the fact that the new home sales in June were 19% below June 2020. So that is a metric that's worth paying attention to. But what's not being accounted for, which is a fact that my friend and business partner in Real Trends, Tom Ferry, raised last week in an event that we were at, is that what did people do when planes started flying again and it became safe to travel and kids are home for the summer? They get out of their houses. And it seems like there is when the real estate agents that I talk to are still seeing the same incredibly strong influx of demand from the purchase market, but they're seeing people make a little bit slower decisions as they're actually traveling and taking vacations and doing some of the things they were unable to do during the heat of the lockdown. And I'm usually the guy who likes to just like harp on the data and not go into the anecdotal part, but it just irks me as we get deeper into the COVID, or the end of COVID, the month over month and year over year comparisons, and not taking into account all of the qualitative aspects of consumer behavior that are impacting these metrics on a comparison basis. Joel,
Clayton, I can tell you on the street, I'm a blessed guy. I get to talk to a lot of top producers all the time. I also am in front of lots of agents. We have a thing, Clayton, in my world called a BIC, which is a button car. And that's someone that's completely pre-approved credit. I mean, everything, like letters of explanation, large deposits, everything. They're butts in an agent's car. And these guys are and ladies are at epically high numbers of those people, like the highest I've seen, and I don't know how long. And I agree with you 100%. It was a question I wanted to ask you, actually. You went right down the road. I believe that we could potentially have the most epic fall purchase market we've ever seen, not to mention people that can now do cash out refinances, whose houses went way up. They bought them a year ago, went way up and can take cash out. But the actual purchase, we're seeing this, more stuff is coming on the market. Rates are staying low or going lower. And I agree with you. Anyone that could travel is gone right now. And they've told their agent, you know what? I'm buying a house. I'm just going to go to the beach for a week, or I'm buying a house, or I'm going to go to Greece. Apparently everyone's going to Greece because Greece is open. Everything else is like iffy. They're canceling flights all over. So they're either in Greece or somewhere in the US getting their vacation in. The other factor, Clayton, is I would say right now in all 50 states, the kids are back in school in September. There's no more, renting a beach house and having your kid on Zoom. So people are even under more pressure to go on vacation because it's truly like over, Labor Day or whatever it is. And they got to be back if they want their kid in school. Some areas are still giving families a choice of, if they want to go Zoom, but most parents want their kids in school. They're probably going to be masked up with what's going on right now, but they want them in school. And I was going to ask you what you thought about that. I think you just gave me my answer, because I think there's going to be so much inventory from the agents I'm talking to. It's going to be so much inventory. It's going to be bonkers. Normally Labor Day, to call it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is a distinctive market that all loan officers will tell you about and agents will tell you about, the fall market. But I think it's going to literally explode, crazy explode. Have someone from CNBC call me.
We'll recommend you as a guest. But
yeah.
so much of the last 12 months, the only thing people could talk about was the unhealthy dynamics created by supply constraint. So we can't stress out when we finally start to see a little bit of supply come to market. And that supply was completely necessary to support the projections that the NBA and other economists have been projecting for the year. And it's exciting to see those projections hold up as new data and new dynamics continue to affect the market. So the NBA's most recent data came out for July, where they do their full year 2021 projections, and on a net basis, the total number of 1 to 4 family or single family home transactions and the dollar amount of 2021 mortgage originations just keeps going up. So the NBA in January of this year was projecting $2.7 trillion in total mortgage origination volume. That was about 1.6 purchase and 1.1 refi. And here we are in July, and they've updated their model as they do every month, and they continue to project 1.6 and 1.6 in purchase. That's a little bit of rounding, so it's actually up about 2 or 3% from January. Their expectations on the purchase market. But refi has been like the number that just keeps getting cranked up as we've seen rates kind of test lows again. So in July, start in January, refi numbers were 1.1 for the year, 1.1 trillion. And the most recent numbers in July, the NBA is now projecting 1.9. So you've just seen this massive upward revision, another $800 billion in additional refi volume that the NBA's revised upward as rates have changed. So it does, like, I compare those housing sales and mortgage projection numbers to the inventory on market and the supply side, and it just seems like a really positive story that supply and demand might match up. And it might actually slow down some of that crazy home price appreciation. And in that same CNBC article where they griped about the housing boom being over, they also mentioned that the median price of newly built home in June was up 6% from prior year. So it's not that crazy 20% that we're seeing in markets, but at a national level, we've still seen that appreciation just at a little more of a manageable level that lets more buyers access the market.
The other little tell on the street is talking to anybody building a house or, having a house built. Sorry, it could be a tract builder. It doesn't matter. Building a house or having a house built, or someone doing a pretty big reno, on their house, where there was a lot of high-pitched whining and screaming going on. And that's kind of going down a little bit as builders and contractors are actually able to get their hands on stuff. Now, they're still telling you, if you're building a house, to literally buy all your appliances now and put them in storage somewhere, because there's a chance you have to close without them, or they'll just have to put something in the house. But those stories are going down and down. And if you really talk to people on the street, there was a time, and I think it's over. Anyone can go in the chat on this, but there was a time about 6 weeks ago, Clayton, 8, maybe 12 weeks ago. I don't know if you heard this, but people were buying houses from builders with no price. There's no price in there. The builder was like, we'll let you know what the price is going to be. And the people go, wait, what? They're like, yeah, we can't give you the price. If you want it, take it. There's someone right behind you that's going to buy it without the price in there, that's just epically insane. I mean, that's just crazy town, but it was going on. But I feel like that's waned or really gone away as builders have been able to nail down. You're the one that I swiped and adapted what you said because it was great about lumber. This is a long time ago. And you're like, hey, just because we need more, that doesn't mean the mills are going to run till 8. They're like, knock it off at 5. They're done. They're just going to charge more for the wood. They're not going to make any more wood. I don't know about you all. I'd be making wood all night. I mean, if I had that kind of opportunity, but they're just like, no, I'll just charge more. Do you remember saying that on here? It was great. And it was a really big tell. People weren't really thinking about that because they just couldn't figure out what was going on. Why can't I get my house? Or why can't I, add a room? Or why can't I do this? Can't get lumber. Why not? Because these guys are still knocking off at 5. I think some of that has gotten handled as well. I don't know. Anyone can go in the chat on this if you have something to say, and I'm going to let Clayton keep going because he usually has a little list. So go ahead, Clayton.
No, I mean, I'm interested if we do have any kind of perspectives on how like the additional inventory that qualitative view that inventory is up from 5 months to 6 months? Is that actually impacting market, or does it still feel like we're in frenzy mode?
I think, Clayton, what you'll hear them say, what Joel people are saying, is that instead of 10 offers, there might be 4. Now, those classic starter 3.2s in a market that were very affordable, that have gone way up, but are still affordable because we have low interest rates and they're below the max, conforming limits. Those houses still might have 10, 12 offers on them. Okay. But the, the other ones, anyone can hop in here. I'm just basing this on what they're telling me. Okay, Michael Ullman just said less offers, less need to waive all contingencies, which is interesting, Clayton, because that was a big part, waiving the appraisal, waiving the home inspection, waiving everything,
Yep.
where we're normalizing there, which is really much better for the consumer. I mean, that's that Michael Ullman said clients not understanding this and negotiating against themselves, which is really a big opportunity to coach our partners, coach our agent partners for what's going on. But we'll see, Clayton, if someone puts anything else in. If you have anything else, we want to keep going, and I'll read them if they pop in.
Yeah, I will. I'll also share one more article on that our lead analyst Logan wrote last week, and kind of ties in some of the demographic trends we've been talking about for the last year into the most recent application and in purchase data. And the thesis that we still have this demographic wave of first-time home buyers and home buyer formation that will play out until at least 2024. That data and that insight is still standing up. So I will I'm learning a few of your phrases, Joel. The butts in cars or butts in cars, right?
Yeah, butts in cars. Yeah,
it continues to be an extremely important measure as we look at least 3 more years of what feels like frenzied purchase business today. The expectation is that will just be the market for 3 years,
which is just incredible. And it's why, when I'm talking to all my people in groups and one-on-one, I'm just preaching and harping on owning that system, because it's the best way to build and maintain relationships with your agent partners. Because amazingly enough, a lot of lenders don't do it. A, they don't know how to do it, or B, they think it's too much work and they're just lazy. And then there's some people on this call, I see a bunch of them right now, that are just going to wipe the floor with those people, because they're sitting there ready. And when they call a listing agent, Clayton, what we've been doing for the last 8 weeks or maybe more, I've been interviewing loan officers on here, and I've been asking them how they're handling the inventory situation. And every single one of them, to a man and a woman, said that one of the main reasons that they're extremely busy is they are talking to every listing agent on every deal, and they're getting their deal through. And then when I ask them, when they talk to the listing agents, how many loan officers are calling them, if there's 20 offers, 2 are calling. Two, which is just amazing. And the reason they're doing it is they're lazy. They don't want to do any extra work, and then they want to complain that their contracts aren't going through. And those partners get a hold of one of these people on this call who are perfectly fine to stay up till 10 o'clock at night calling the listing agent. That other loan officer is going to lose their partner, because they're going to switch over to someone that's willing to really help, in this kind of market. Because agents are working just extremely hard right now. Everyone thinks they're just printing money. They're writing like 19 contracts, on everything. And they're not printing money. Their hourly rates are lower than where they'd like them, right now. So I think, everything you're saying is I agree with, is right on. And you're saying till 2024, you're saying another 2.5 years, or another 3.5. Clayton, we talked about this a bunch of times. I got this stat from you, that January 1, 2020, we started the year short 3 million houses. That was before everyone wanted to move. I think I got that from you right in January, we were talking about something before we even started doing this call. And that's a very large number, but that number is growing every year. And so you're right. We truly have like a housing shortage. And, I don't know if people, there's a lot of people that sold condos in cities and moved out. And, the question is, who's going to move in, or empty nesters are going to move back in the city? In Manhattan, in New York City, a lot of the employers are making plays. Hey, you're going to be back in the office. Enjoy your summer. You're going to be back in the office. And then they have these mass transit issues where they have a lot of homelessness and a lot of crime on the subways. And the people are like, I'm not going back in there. You better send a black car for me, because I'm not taking the subway to work. because I'm going to get accosted. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But, if you really look at the prices in a Manhattan, you would think they dropped when everyone was cruising out, but not really. They didn't drop too much. Maybe some co-ops dropped, but that's about it.
At a national level, in June of 2020, 18% of condos were selling above ask. And in June of 2021, 40% sold above ask. So that's a higher number, higher differential than single family to condo. So that's the renewed interest in condo, and the condo inventory is concentrated in the larger city coastal markets. So this is a good indicator of the interest in city living, or having to get back to closer to the workplace, that trend actually playing out. So condos sold at the fastest pace on record in June, with a typical condo that sold during the month going under contract in 22 days. So it's just a drastic, crazy difference from what we saw 12 months ago.
Yeah. One of my very good friends from college is a big, commercial real estate muckety muck in Manhattan, the downtown market. And he has access to any buildings they're repping. He can see the swipes every day. And so he's watching a building with 10,000 people in it, had 800 swipes, a couple months ago, and now has 1,600, and now has 2,400, where they're coming back, and the employers are really, they're really saying, hey, look, you can have the summer, but you'll be back on some kind of hybrid schedule, but you will be back in here. And It's across the board. It's not just a government entity. It's a financial services. It's whatever. It's across the board. So I think that's going to be a big sea change. You're right, with the big cities and people coming in. What else interesting on your list? Anything interesting? CFPB, they twisting knives anywhere that you've seen recently, or?
I'm not coming to you with any regulatory updates today, but definitely should be more. And most of the regulatory news that we've had crossing our desk it's been very servicing focused. That seems to be where a lot of the CFPB interest is right now. And I don't know how much this impacts everybody's day to day, but I think one thing that is really worth paying attention to is the last 18 months of success in the housing market in real estate world has not gone unnoticed by investors and operators in other sectors. So we're seeing a growing and a really notable increase in interest in the mortgage and real estate world from institutional investors across all landscapes, and have started to see another major uptick in funding rounds and transactions focused on tech-enabled housing companies. So in the last week alone, we saw Blend price their IPO at close to $5 billion. Morty, which is a small digital mortgage brokerage shop, raised $25 million in Series B at $150 million valuation. Sun Capital bought Loan Logics. Accept Inc., which is alternative homeownership model, raised $90 million. Fly Homes, alternative homeownership model, raised $150 million. Simple Nexus founder left to run a startup. Mortgage tech firm Volley bought up Home Captain. Like, the deals are just like and it's because of institutional capital's interest in having exposure to the market. And I know everyone's seen the headlines about how Blackstone and the other big SFR investors are impacting the single family market, and
swooping in,
paying cash. It's a drop in the bucket, and a lot of the inventory coming into the Invitation Homes and the portfolio is actually being built to rent right now. So that's kind of a cool theme to watch. But the one thing that single family rental houses and mortgage tech and real estate tech all have in common is a massive renewed interest from investors. So our competitor, Inman News, announced that they sold themselves to a private equity firm today. We're just seeing so much interest in the housing world. And that's it's something to watch, because it will fuel not just startups, but also fuel consolidation. There's probably, in the real estate brokerage market, there's probably 8 serious buyers right now who are sucking up every single indie and team that they can find. And that will impact some mortgage origination markets, as some of those buyers have mortgage channels and preferred partners. So I think it's an interesting theme to watch right now, that the success of the housing market has fueled new people wanting exposure to it and is fueling the entrance of capital, which will definitely have impacts on who the big players are as we look out a few years.
Yeah, the real estate brokerage business has been a brutal business to run for a while now. And the compliance, the cash reserves, the things that need to go on, all of the rules post 2008, 2009, 2010 put the brokers right in the crosshairs. And some of those rules that really did a lot of damage to JVs and ways that lenders were putting money in brokerage, in a broker's pocket went down. I mean, it's very hard to make money as the broker. I'm not talking about as a real estate agent in a brokerage, but as the bonded broker, it's very hard to make money. So I would predict, over the next year, you're going to see lots of stuff swallowed up into big boys that have the balance sheets, have the cash reserves. They can hang with anything. They can easily do a deal, do a tough deal, do a sharp deal, and just people have to just do it because they can't hang, because they don't have the backing, and the compliance piece is so massive, and every company is racing to put systems in place to stop agents from making mistakes that cost tons of money. And it's going on, I think, in every brokerage, every broker I talk to, it's going on. And then, as they come together more and more, there's less places for the crazy or non-compliant brokers to go. I mean, agents, they can't just jump over here and keep being crazy. They can't, because they got to play ball. So I agree with that 100%. Clayton, do you don't see rates going anywhere but steady or down right now, correct?
So I'm not going to be the crystal ball gazer here, but the economist forecasts that I'm watching were all revised down in the last month. So some of that is off of actual rate performance, and the latest COVID variant is getting the credit for driving rates back down beneath 2. I think the last time we published the Freddie rate survey, the 30-year fixed national average was 2.78. So I have the MBA numbers in front of me right now. They were projecting that we'd end 2021 at a 3.7 30-year average fixed rate, and the latest number for 12/31 estimate was 3.4. So they revised down 300 or 30 basis points.
30 bits.
They also revised down their number for 2022 by 10 basis points, and revised down their number for 2023 by 10 basis points. So I think the economists are usually like a little bit late on rate predictions, just kind of by the nature of how quickly rates move. But the trajectory is down, and I haven't heard anybody predict anything but a steady rate environment between 3% and 4% for the foreseeable future.
And that, this Delta variant thing, which is a whole nother animal to talk about or whatever, but for us, unfortunately, it's not. It's just going to keep the rates down. Agents have already figured out how to sell houses. If they have to wear a mask or if they're in a hazmat suit, they've already figured it out. It'll just be very, very interesting in different markets. Not interesting in a macabre way, but interesting because there are very specific markets that are having big spikes because it's a very low vaccination point or whatever, where it is. It is. And there's lots of people that are getting Delta that are vaccinated. They're getting a headache or whatever, and they're done. The vaccine works, and they're done. But if you get it and you're not vaccinated, it's apparently a problem. And talking to doctors, different areas of the country, they got emergency rooms filled with people again. And everyone is unvaccinated. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects, a certain zip code or a certain area where maybe the vaccination rate's at 20%, versus maybe your zip code where it's at 65% or whatever, how that affects the market. Yes or no. I'm seeing some, I'm waiting. I'm seeing some of the universities start to make a little noise, which will be helpful. As far as, hey, you want to come back on campus, got to be vaccinated. That'd be better for all of us. But I think that's the only factor, some kind of baby shutdown again, because, hospitals in certain areas get filled. But I think if we get
Joel,
through
for
that,
better or for worse, the states that are seeing the fastest uptick in COVID cases are also the states that are all experiencing the highest population growth right now.
makes sense.
You can think of a couple of those states without income taxes
Yes.
that are seeing population growth despite COVID cases. So even if COVID cases keeps a couple people out of the couple, I'm exaggerating, but keeps some people out of the market, inbound interstate movement will likely fill that void, and those houses will move just as quick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll necessarily stop it. I was just thinking about, oh man, what if they go back on this lockdown kind of thing, where it just makes it a little bit harder. And mainly the main state, Tampa, was there like 8,000 people moving there every day or something crazy like that? I mean, that city doesn't even have the roads. I mean, I was just there. I mean, there's no roads for all those people. It's not even built, and they can only go certain places. They certainly can't go west because the Gulf is there. They can only go certain places. But I agree with you on that. I think that's the only thing people are kind of thinking about, and begging their friends to get vaccinated, meaning because they don't want to go into lockdown again.
And smarter folks than you and I are watching this. I mean, today, despite publishing a report on the COVID variant, Goldman Sachs also made a call that people should pile back into any stocks that are still depressed by coronavirus related lockdowns. So like the economists that are advising institutional capital are saying, get back into the stocks that got beat down last year. I don't know if there's any left. Like, it feels like a late call to make, but it's interesting that at the same
time, you're talking about airlines and hotel stocks and maybe some hospitality, all things like that. Is that what they're referring to? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Clayton? He's pretty modest, but he knows a lot of stuff. So if you want to put something in the chat while we got him, let me just see what's in the chat right now. Okay, that's Clayton putting something in. Yeah, that's all you. Now, less offers. Michael Ullman came in there. Does anybody have any questions for Clayton? Well, I'll tell you this, everyone. If you are sick of listening to me every week talk about butts and cars and B2Bs and things like that, hopefully you're over it just listening to Clayton. By the way, I don't prep for any of these calls on purpose. I mean, I do know everyone that I'm bringing on, but I don't prep. So that was not a, hey, Clayton, can you say this? Because it'll be great for everyone. That was him being really lockstep with me on that one. But the added Joel piece is, if you're not cranking your BIC PP system right now, PP is just a partial pre-qual. That just means we don't have all the docs, Clayton. You're crazy, because this market's going to get fast right after Labor Day. And if your people aren't ready, they're not going to get the house they want, because someone else that's ready is going to get that house. And I don't think it's going to go for, $100 grand over like it has been. It's going to go over, but you're going to need to sell it through. That listing agent's going to be looking at probably at least 4 or 5 offers. I mean, which is a healthy seller's market. We've just seen the craziest seller's market in the history of the world, I think, that we'll ever see. But still, 5 offers is something. I mean, that's something to look at for a seller. So you really got to be on top of this. Don't take a nap. Because I think people are going to come back. They're going to take their kid to the bus. They're going to put their kid in school. They're going to call their agent and go, let's go. Find me a house. Okay, I made a bunch of offers. I didn't find anything. I still want to move. Let's go. And you're going to need to be on top of that. Their docs are going to need to be updated. You're going to be ready. We all 20 real quick burner. So Epic Marks being now we're getting up terms, which is pressure on it. The best thing to take the pressure off is to have everyone completely pre-approved. Okay, Josh, can you still hear me? No problem. I just got something about internet. Can you hear me? No problem.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone, a little. Okay, good. So everyone, listen, number one, next Monday, no call next Monday. I will be traveling on that day. We'll be back on 8-9. It's going to be a great call. We're going to have Andrew Marquis on. I think he was number 3 on the Scotsman's Guide last year. He is a gorilla banger loan officer who's old school, who's always a great guy to talk to, because
It looks like we lost Joel, everyone. Sorry about that. Well, Thank you all very much. Just so you know, no call next Monday, and we look forward to having you guys on in 2 weeks. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, and Michael,